Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Those who are new, welcome to my channel. In today's class, let us see Mughal Empire. When the administration of Delhi Sultanate was weak, on that time the Babur established the Mughal rule in our India in the year 1526 CE. Now let us see about Babur. Babur, who established the Mughal rule in our India, he was originally from Turkestan. His father was Umar Sheikh Mirza. He was a king of a small kingdom called Paragana in Afghanistan. Due to the death of his father, Babur had ascended the throne at a very tender age of 11 years. He became a king when he was a child of 11 years. He had to lose his kingship due to the conspiracy of his relatives and enemies. He had to lead a life of nomad. Nomad means the people who had migrated from one place to another place. They did not have a permanent settlement. Those are called as a nomad. On that time he had led a life of a nomad. All those situations motivated him to invade India. The Babur invaded India for 5 times. Babur was invaded our India for 5 times. He defeated the Delhi Sultan Ibrahim Lodi in the Battle of Panipat in the year 1526 CE, and he established the Mughal dynasty or Mughal rule in our India. Over the period of 4 years, he defeated Rana Sangram Singh of Mewar. The Rajput king Medini Raya of Chanderi and Ibrahim Lodi's brother Muhammad Lodi. Babur conquered a war of Panipat, Gogra and Kanwa, and he established Mughal rule in a large area in our North India. Now let us see a important information about Babur. Babur wrote a book called Babarnama or Tuskiye-Babari. In that book he wrote that it is an autobiography of Babur. This book is written in Turkish language. In that book, in addition to dealing with the political events, he has also described the natural features, beauty, the flora and fauna, and gardens of the various areas. He has said that in the book. The Babur was a poet and the talented artist. Abdul Rahim Khan translated Babur's book into Persian language. Those are all the information about Babur. Now let us see Humayun. Humayun is the second king of Mughal dynasty. He was the eldest son of Babur. He was a son of Babur and he had a force, many thought and problems when he became the king or when he came to power in the year 1530 CE, such as the problem of unstable and despite the kingdom, trouble from the Afghans, enmity of the Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, and the hostility of his own brothers. He conquered the Kalinjar fort, Dora Janpur, Chittor fort, and Mandeshwar. Humayun, who was defeated by Sher Shah and sought shelter in the Sindh provinces and came back to power after the death of Sher Shah. Those are all about the important information related to Humayun. Now let us see role of Sher Shah. His role started from 1540 and ends from 1545 CE. The original name of Sher Shah was Farid. He was the founder of Sur dynasty. His childhood was not happy and deprived of his parents' love. He wandered about from some years when he was working under the Bahar Khan Lodi, this king of South Bihar. He killed a tiger single-handed, and those on the title are named called Sher Shah. When the Babur took over the administration of India, the Sher Shah worked under him played a significant role. The Sher Shah defeated Humayun and conquered Punjab, Sindh, Multan, Gwalior and Malwa, Raisandurg, Marwad and Kalinjar. His empire was extended into the entire North India except Assam, Gujarat and Kashmir. Now let us see administrative system of Sher Shah. Sher Shah gives importance towards strengthening the administrative structures. He has given importance to the strengthening of administrative system in this area, and he was the ultimate head of the administration and ran administration with the help of a council of ministers, both the civil and military powers. He has appointed some ministers to help him in the administrative matters, both in the civil and military powers, where all powers are under the hand of king. The entire kingdom was divided into sarkars. Sarkar means region, and paraganas. Cavalry, infantry and elephant division were there in his army. His army is more powerful. Among those, the cavalry was powerful. In order to bring the discipline among those soldiers, he wanted to maintain the discipline in their own soldier. He started the attendance of the soldiers. He started attendance only for the soldiers and stamping dog for the horses. The army was divided into small units called Fauj. The army has been divided into a small unit that is called as a Fauj. The head of that Fauj was a Faujdaar. The Sher Shah took personal interest in organizing and supervising the army. The Sher Shah has been took himself the all matters of army, and he was supervises his own army, and he got all the cultivable land measured and fixed the land taxes based on it, and he divided land into three types based on the fertility. He divided, and first he measured the land, after that he fixed the land taxes. He divided all lands into three types based on its fertility, its yield of the crops. A good, average and lower are the types of land on the basis of its fertility. The farmers had to pay 1/3 of their harvesting crops as the land tax. Now let us see his justice. His justice means Sher Shah's justice was known for the impartial justice. Hence, he had earned the title called a Sultan of Fair Justice. A Sultan was the highest judge in the kingdom. In his kingdom, we see that a Sultan was highest judge, and he decided all the final appeals. He conducted his court every Wednesday evening. His court was held on every Wednesday in evening. Now let us move on. The Sher Shah was brought a new silver coin known as a dam into the circulation. The first time Sher Shah was distributed the silver coin, that is called as a dam. The coin weighed 180 licorice seeds. All the other Mughal kings continue this practice. On either side of the highway, the shade-giving trees was planted, and 1,700 shelter for relaxation of travelers were constructed there. He was constructed many highways in his kingdom. Some of them are Sonargaon to the bank of river Indus, though the Agra, Delhi and Lahore. This route is called as a Sadke-Azam. Second one is from Agra to Burhanpur. Third road is from Agra to Chittoor. Fourth road is Lahore to Multan. Those are all about the Sher Shah's life, administrative system, military system, judicial system, and his economics. A great king called Akbar. Akbar was the most famous king of Mughal Empire. Akbar was born in Amarkot in Sindh provinces. Humayun was his father. When Akbar assumed power, when Akbar became the king, he was only 14-year-old. After the death of Humayun, Akbar's father, Humo, the military general of Bengal, the king Muhammad Shah Abduli, opposed and conquered Delhi and Agra. This led to the traffic battle at Panipat in the year 1556. First battle of Panipat was held on 1526 and second battle of Panipat was held on 1556 between Himo and Mughals. This is known as the Second Battle of Panipat. Akbar emerged victorious in this battle. His prime minister and royal representative called Bairam Khan came to the Akbar's assistance during that war. With the help of a mighty army, Akbar conquered Malwa, Jaipur, Gundawan, Chittur, Ranatambur, Kalinjar, Gujarat and Bengal. The Battle of Haldighat is the most significant battle in the history of medieval India. Another battle we see that gained a very important place. That battle is Haldighat. After the death of Chittur king Rana Uday Singh, his son Rana Pratap Singh came to power. Akbar sent his powerful army under the leadership of General Man Singh and Asif Khan to fight against Rana Pratap. In that battle of Haldighat, the Mughal army was victorious, and in that battle Mughal army was a win. The remaining states of Kashmir, Sindh, Odisha, Baluchistan, Kandahar and Ahmednagar comes under the Akbar's rule. Akbar get more powerful. Thus he lead to the frame foundation for Mughal to emerge as a powerful kingdom in medieval India. After this, Akbar lead the great foundation for the Mughal Empire in medieval India. Now let us see Akbar's religious policies. Akbar could break the chain of orthodox due to the close interaction with his mother, teacher and Sufi saint. He had allowed his Rajput wives to perform puja in his palace. He had ordered against harassing women and children of enemy state. He had also ordered not to arrest a Hindu who did not take part in a war and turn them into slaves. He also ordered against the conversion of such Hindus into Islam. He abolished jizya, head tax on Hindus. He translated the Hindu religious books into Persian language. He showed respect towards the qualified Hindus by appointing them to the high position. For example, the Raja Todarmal was the famous minister of finance, and Bhagwan Das Man Singh Todarmal and Rai Singh were the governors of Akbar's administrative system. There were the 8 Hindus among the 12 provincial finance ministers. Akbar directed that the festival of Rakhi, Deepavali and Shivratri and he should celebrate in his court. Those are all about the Akbar's religious policy. Now let us see Deen-e-Ilahi. Deen-e-Ilahi, Akbar established a new religion called Deen-e-Ilahi in the year 1582. The best aspects of the all religions were present in the new religion. This religion was the result of a discussion held at Ibadat Khan, where the Hindus, Jains, Zoroastrians and Christians participated. He sought to integrate all the peoples of his kingdom through a new religion. Abdul Fazil was the chief architect of this religion. It believed in one God, culture and good behavior. The main aim of Deen-e-Ilahi was to control the bloodthirsty fundamentalist force. Now let us see administrative system of Akbar. For the administrative conveyances, Akbar had divided his kingdom into central government, provincial government and paraganas. Akbar has been divided his kingdom into three basic centers. Those are the central government, provincial government, and paraganas. Akbar was the emperor in vast kingdom. They commanded of his army and head of the executive and head of the judiciary also. There were the four ministers called Wakil, Diwan, Mir Bakshi, and main Sardar to assist him in the administration. He has appointed some ministers to assist him. Those are the Wakil, Diwan, Mir Bakshi, and main Sardar. He had divided his kingdom into various provinces. They were called as a Sabhas. There were altogether 15 sabhas in his administrative system. Each sabha had Sipe Salar or governor, a diwan and a bakshi, a sardar and a priest, a constable and a vakil. Nowadays, every district has a faujdar and amalguzar and Batakchi. The administration of Paraganas was carried out of by Sheikhdar, Amir, Potedar and Khanun Go. Akbar had established many hierarchies in his army that is called as a Mansab. It is the supervisor, it is called as a Mansabdar. There were infantry, cavalry, elephant and unit and cannon unit in the Mughal army. There was a separate department to stamp the horse known as the Dak Mahali. Those are all about the administrative system of Akbar. Now let us see revenue system of Akbar's administration. This was one of the important achievement of Akbar's administration. He brought Jubuti system into the practice. It is called as a system of Todarmal. Bamboo measuring stick with iron hook. They were used to measure the land. The land was classified as a Polaj, Paruti, Chachar and Banjar with the exception of Banjar. Banjar means a barren land. Based on the fertility of that soil, all the other land was classified as excellent, average and mediocre. Each farmer was given a patta. The police system, Kotwal, during the Akbar's time was well organized and the constable. There were a police station in Paragana. Akbar encouraged art and architecture too in his region. The important monuments in Fatehpur Sikri, Wajabagh, Daftare Khana, Jodhabai's palace, Daulat Khana, Panchmahal, Birbal House, Kabutar Khana, etc. Those are all the important monuments which are built in the Akbar's region. Those are all about the Akbar's revenue system. After the Akbar, his elder son Jahangir came to power and he provided a good administration and continue all policies of Akbar. The Jahangir was continue all the policies of Akbar. He has a personal as well as a matrimonial relationship with the Rajputs. He also developed a personal and matrimonial relationship with Rajput as his father made the matrimonial relationship with Rajputs. He also continued it and he liberalized a few restrictions against the rule of Mewad. Jahangir personally led an attack on Mewad rule in the 1613 CE and defeated him. After him, his son Shah Jahan came to power. Now let us see a very important information related to Akbar's Navratans. Those the 9 gems are Navratans. Navratans in the Akbar's court. Those are the Todarmal, Abul Fazl, Faizi, Birbal, Tansen, Abdur Rahim Khane Khana, Hamim Humam, Mullah, Do Fayaz and Mansingh. Those are all the Akbar's Navratans. Those are all the ministers of Akbar's court. He was appointed all religious peoples like Hindus, Muslims in his court. See, Shah Jahan. During the reign of Shah Jahan, the Mughal invasions on the South India continued. Nobel Khan Lodi of Afghanistan rebelled against him and got defeated. And he also defeated the Portuguese in the year 1632 and annexed Hooghly from them. He took Ahmednagar under his control. His relationship got spoiled with Sikh and Budelas. He faced defeated by the Uzbek while trying to conquer Pulak region from them in the Middle Asia. Shah Jahan followed the method of valuating and land based on the fertility and fixed the land taxes based on it. Based on it means its fertility. Taj Mahal, Red Fort and Delhi are the other important buildings are his contributions since they encouraged the architecture during his reign. It is called as a golden period in the history of medieval India. In the end, there was internal rivalries among his son to succeed him. Aurangzeb finally became the successor. Now let us see information about Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal, Mughal King Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal in the memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal on the bank of river Yamuna at Agra in the state of Uttar Pradesh. The construction of this monument began around 1632 and it was completed around 1653. This was built using the white marble stone. It is one of the 7 wonders of the world and it included in the list of UNESCO monuments. Those are all about the Taj Mahal. Now let us see Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was imprisoned his father and ascended the throne. The title Alamgir, he temporarily quelled the rebellions of Ahoms in the east and Yusufites in the northwest. His decision to imprison and dishonor Shivraj resulted in future attack on Mughals. He had to face a revolt of Rajput of Mewar and Rathod, Sikh, Jats, Bundelas and Sathanamis in the north. He waged war against Adil Shahi of Bijapur and Nizam Shahi of Golconda and annexed them to his kingdom. Finally, his enmity was a powerful Rajput led to the downfall of Mughals. Now let us move on. Aurangzeb attempted to implement the philosophies advocated in the Quran strictly. Many popular Hindu temples were spoiled during his reign. He had prohibited sati system, musical performance, procession, gambling, consumption of liquor and ganja plant extracts in his kingdom. He lived a simple life. He was called as a Zinda Fakir, which means a living fakir. Now let us see contributions of Mughals. In that first contribution is in the administrative field. The Mughals who ruled in India for more than 200 years, they have given important contributions to the different area. The Mughal rule was hereditary. The power was centralized in ruler and he was the absolute ruler. They considered themselves as an emperor and called themselves as a Badshah. Badshah was the absolute head of administration, military, judiciary, and he had ministers to assist him. He had absolute power to appoint or remove the ministers, appointing mansabdars, providing a land grant, and formation of laws were the major function of the king. The Persian was the official language. The kingdom have been divided into Prantha, Sarkar and Paragana. Vakil, Diwan, Mirbakshi and Mukhya Sardar were the important ministers at the central government. They were assisted by the officers like Rajyapal, Bakshi, Vakil, Vakiya, Navis, Kotwal, Faujdar, Amalguzar and Batakji. Now let us see revenue system. The majority of the peoples were the farmers in the Mughal rule. The land taxes were fixed on the fertility of that soil. The agricultural land were the measure in order to fix the tax amount. One third of the production was paid as a taxes either in the form of money or crop. The terminologies used by the Mughals in revenue system are used even today also. Now let us see society. In the society, the king, ministers, officers and employees had better status or respectful status. The people who were also wearing jewelries made up of apparels and different metals, excluding Aurangzeb and the other ruler involved in music, dance, composition of liquor, gambling and other means of entertainment. Except Aurangzeb, those are all the kings involved in the music, dance, consumption of liquor, gambling and other means of entertainment. The farmer's life was a misery due to the heavy land taxes, inefficient politics of the rulers and interference of the middleman, leather processors, porters, cobblers, washermen and other the farmers, non-agricultural working class, sati system, child marriage and bride price were in the practice. Now let us see economic system. Since the North India had many rivers, the cultivable land was available naturally. A good system of irrigation aided and growth of agriculture. There were many government factories. Out of them, textile industries were concentrated in Banaras, Patna, Dhaka, Chabaspura, Sonar, Lahore, Fatehpur Sikri and Agra. Akbar supported the shovel and carpet weaving work. During the region of Mughal, apart from the internal trade, the trade relationship with other countries of Asia and Europe, the raw silk, metal, horse, perfume, gold and silver, they were imported to the other countries. They had developed a good relationship with other kings also, and cotton, cloth, paper, woolen cloth were exported to the different countries. Those are all about the economic system of Mughal rule. Now let us see literature. During the Mughal period, many books were written in the Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Hindi and Sanskrit languages. Babur and Jahangir were scholars and they wrote their autobiography like Babar Nama and Tuskiye-Jahangir. Nabul Fazl, who was in the court of Akbar, he wrote Aina-e-Akbari and Akbarnama in the Persian, and Maduni translated Ramayana. Faizi is the mathematical work, Leelavati and Raja Toda, Bhagavad Purana in translated into the Persian language. The great work were written like Ramacharita Manasa by the Tulsidas, Sagar by Surdas. Those are all about the literature of Mughal dynasty. Now let us see art and architecture. Akbar and Shah Jahan contributed more in the art and architecture during the period of Mughal. The building built by them are the Fatehpur Sikri, Agra, Delhi. During Akbar's period, Indo-Persian style of architecture come into existence. A famous palace like Akbari Mahal, Jahangiri Mahal, Panch Mahal, Jodhabai Mahal, Birbal Mahal, Ibadat Khana, Jamia Masjid, Buland Darwaza of Fatehpur Sikri are the important contributions of Mughals. During the region of Shah Jahan, Red Fort, Moti Masjid, Diwan-e-Azam, Diwan-e-Khas, Ranga Mahal, Khasa Mahal, Taj Mahal and other buildings were built. The throne of Mayura, it took 7 years of work and 1 crore expenses, and spacious Jama Masjid They were the contribution. Apart from those, the contribution of Shah Jahan are available in the place like Lahore, Kabul, Kandahar, Kashmir, Ajmer and Allahabad. Those are all about the art and architecture of Mughal Empire. Now let us see painting. During the period of Humayun, the Mughal art of painting evolved with the help of Mir Sayyid Ali and Abbas Samad of Persia. The various painting cases were created of 17 artists in the court of Akbar. 13 artists were Hindus. The famous among them were Dashawant Basavan, Lala Jagannath, Kunda. In Jahangir's court, Ustad Mansur and Abdul Hussain were the present. But Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb were not interested much in the paintings, like his Mughal contributions to the different fields during their reign. Those are all about the contributions of Mughals.